Hello, and welcome to Dan's Card Corner. This time we have something a little bit different. These are two single card packs of Pieces of the Past Relic cards. So these will be related to some historical figure or another. We'll obviously find out who or whom when we open them up. Now, Pieces of the Past, there is a lot of discussion online in various card forums about the Relic cards that this brand produces. Because for the most part, the relics that they put on their cards are not necessarily related specifically to the historical figure they're depicting. They're, in many cases, newspaper clippings and fragments of books and things of that nature that are from the general time period the person lived in, but not necessarily traceable to that historical figure themselves. Which, if you know what you're getting, is not necessarily a problem, because the design on a lot of these cards is actually very well done. But there's a lot of, consternation as to, people not necessarily realizing that when they buy them and things of that nature. Other companies are a little bit more upfront about what you're getting. Just for example, I actually just got this today, along with these two packs. They happen to come in the mail on the same day. Here is a 2018 Topps Allen and Ginter card of Tommy Wiseau, the legendary filmmaker of The Room. And this is a relic, I suppose, of one of his shirts or something like that, used memorabilia on the back, and this same disclaimer is applied to Topps sports relic cards as well. The memorabilia contained in this card is not from any specific game, event, or season, so they're kind of upfront that it is a piece of fabric that belonged to the person in question, but isn't necessarily from, in the case of the sports memorabilia, a specific all-star game or something like that. In the case of somebody like Tommy Wiseau, this is not necessarily a fragment of a shirt that was screen-worn in The Room, or any of his other productions, but, it's presumably just a shirt that belonged to him. Same goes with the this one here. This is from the, I believe, 2011 American Pie Topps set. This is a celebrity-worn memorabilia card for Larry Thomas, who you may recall from Seinfeld as the character known between his two appearances as, in the finale, Yev Kassem, when we learn his actual name, more familiarly known, of course, as the Soup Nazi. But you have that same sort of disclaimer on the back. The piece of memorabilia featured on the front of the card comes from an authentic item worn by Larry Thomas. Not necessarily screen-worn, of course. It does look like it's from a white garment, so it very well could be the outfit that he wore in, the actual Soup Nazi episode. It's probably not, because they would probably say it if it was. So, they probably just sent him some old shirt he had in his closet, and they cut it up and put it in the cards. And that goes for wrestling cards. Here's the Seth Rollins relic I actually opened in one of my Wrestling Card Mania episodes of Dan's Card Corner. Does this have the disclaimer? It's probably somewhere in the fine print. Maybe not, actually. But again, it doesn't specifically say it's from any event in specific or anything like that. As far as Pieces of the Past cards, I do have some other examples. Here is, this one I really like the design for. This is an Anne Bonny card with a little fragment of a map in it. Now, of course, if you look at the map closely, it looks like it's actually a piece of a map of somewhere in Italy, which doesn't necessarily have any specific connection to Anne Bonny, a historic figure about whom very little concrete is known to begin with. This one, actually, that being said, does have kind of an image of the batch of items that were used to make the relics, so a little bit more upfront about what it is. Doesn't, specifically say that it's not from the historical figure, though, so again, you can see where some of that consternation comes from. It likely is not. It's just some old map that was cut up to turn into the card. Same goes for this one. This is actually another Anne Bonny. I actually have 3 cards of her from Pieces of the Past, 2 relics and 1 non-relic. Looks like probably fragment of a book illustration, but doesn't really say what it is. It has kind of a broad disclaimer of what types of items will be turned into the relics, but never specifically says they're related to the figures in question. Same goes for this Blackbeard. Again, very cool design on the card. That could be anything. This George Washington one I have. It looks like, you know, news clipping, and it has the long S, so it looks like it is period, but, you know, is it actually connected to George Washington? Probably not. And actually, this one was sent by the seller that I bought the 2 unopened packs from, this Cornelius Vanderbilt, which again is pretty cool looking. Whether or not it actually has any connection to him, we don't know. There are companies that make cards that are a little bit more upfront. This is one of my favorite examples. In fact, it's one of the prized cards from my entire collection. This is from another company, Historic Autographs, and this is an authentic handwriting sample of Mo Howard, of course, of the Three Stooges. So this is a little fragment of a letter that was turned into relic cards. On the back, you can actually see an image of another kind of broader part of the letter in question, and if you go online, you can actually go to the Historic Autographs website and see the entire document. So this is much more, you know, transparent about what it is, and it is much more transparent in the fact that it does in fact come from the historic figure in question. I also love, you know, in lieu of a signature, I really kind of love the words that this particular card has on it, written by Mo. It's real. It kind of serves as its own certificate of authenticity. And that seems like kind of a Mo thing to do. Oh, it's real. I can hear him saying that. So yeah, this is one of my prized cards. The one complaint I have, I kind of wish it did have a less generic design on the front. Like, you know, if it had a picture of him or something, that would be ideal. But yeah, definitely a prized possession as far as my card collection goes. This is another Historic Autographs one, just again for comparison's sake. Little fancier design as well. But this is a Boss Tweed relic. It was, once again, a document that you can view online, but it looks like it came from some city budget document, of which there were probably hundreds. But the handwriting visible on it, I'm not a handwriting expert, but from what I was able to tell by comparing it to other confirmed examples, at least most of the handwriting on this does appear to be Boss Tweed's hand. And again, you can look at the entire document that was photographed before it was turned into the relics. So, you know, again, fully transparent as to what it is, as compared to the slightly less transparent approach taken by the Pieces of the Past cards. With that being said, again, with the Pieces of the Past, if you know what they are going in, I don't really have an issue. Of course, there's also a whole debate as to, you know, cutting up old documents to begin with to turn them into relics, and I being kind of a historical purist and really a historian by training and by trade, I did have, you know, reservations about that at first, but I did kind of take into account that there is a long history of this kind of thing. If you go back to the early to mid-19th century, things like fragments of George Washington's campaign tent from the Revolutionary War were highly prized collectibles. If you go back even further, I suppose you could even say, you know, the collection of relics of saints and pieces of the True Cross by the church, some of which were probably also more authentic than others, is an even earlier precedent for collecting just fragments of historic items. So, yeah, you know, if it's something where the entire document has historic value, you know, a Declaration of Independence or something like that, you don't want to cut that up to turn it into relics. But if it's just, you know, a page from a city ledger, of which there are dozens, if not hundreds of pages available, I don't necessarily see an issue with that. And especially with the approach that something like Historic Autographs takes, where you can actually see the full document recorded and photographed before it was turned into the relics. Just last thing, Pieces of the Past does have non-relic cards as well. I only actually have one of those, but it was so cool, the San Bonnie card with the kind of chrome effect. It's so cool, the last time I sent some cards into Degree to be graded, I actually sent this one along. So this is in a nice little slab there. There's also a very good book by Christopher John Farley, a novel, but it's kind of a novelization about Anne Bonny and Mary Read, the two female pirates that were aboard the ship of Captain Jack Rackham, Calico Jack Rackham. So it's fiction, but I definitely recommend it. Very good read. I read it a number of years ago, but I still have it and may well read it again at some point. Anyway, let's open some damn cards and see what we get here. So here's Pieces of the Past, number 1. I'm going to be careful opening this because it is a single card pack. So I don't want to bend it or anything. So there's something in there. Let's see what it is. Annie Oakley. Oh, look at that. That's a cool one. And let's see, the Relic. Looks like it's just probably a page from something about steamships there. So it's just some period newspaper ad or something like that. You know, something that existed at the same general time that Annie Oakley existed. So, you know, probably nothing with a direct connection to her, but a very cool looking card nonetheless. I do like it. The seller actually threw in a couple of top loaders, but I'll put it in a penny sleeve and then throw it in one of those. So yeah, we'll set that one down for now. And then pack number 2. Let's see who is in here. Well, I think I see part of the name, but he doesn't want to come out. And I don't want to tear off another part of him if it's who I think it is. All right, there we go. Here he is. Yes, it is. It is Vincent van Gogh. Oh, and that looks like handwriting there. Probably not Van Gogh's handwriting. I will check on that. And again, I'm certainly no handwriting expert, but you know, just by comparison, you can probably at least exclude Van Gogh himself, if indeed it's not his handwriting. But yeah, I mean, I'm an art history guy, so this is a cool one, even if it's not really his writing. There's a little bit of a bend on the top corner there. I hope I didn't do that when I was opening it, but I suspect it was already like that because there is actually a little bit of corner damage down here too. Yeah, you know, whether or not the relics actually are connected to these figures, this is a cool little haul, I think. You know, some visually cool cards. Yeah, you know, actually, let me find a confirmed example of Van Gogh, and I should say Van Gogh handwriting. And I'll hold this up like this, and we'll put a confirmed example here so we can at least rule it out. See, you know, see what you think. All right, so there's that comparison anyway. But yeah, I'm happy with the end result of these. You know, regardless of the relic's authenticity, they're cool looking cards. Cool to have, and I'll probably hang on to them. So yeah, anyway, there you have it. Something different for Dan's Card Corner. I'll see if I can get maybe a couple more of these. Maybe I think they have bigger packs that have the non-relic cards in them, as well as, like, it might be like one relic card and a bunch of non-relic cards. I'll see if I could get one of those maybe sometime. But yeah, maybe we'll revisit Pieces of the Past at a later date. But until then, this has been Dad's Card Corner. We'll see you again. Hit like and subscribe, and have a good night.